Hey, what's up, guys? This is Greg coming at you with another Transformers review, and I'm jumping all over the place on this one. So I'm going to bring you Beast Wars Transmetal Optimal Optimus. Now, this is a figure that I got loose off of eBay. It cost me, I think it was like 35 bucks, and I'd consider it to be worth every penny. Now, a lot of people label this guy as a Transmetal too. He's not. He's actually one of the last Transmetals to be released, and he was, in fact, along with Death Charge. At that time, ironic, given that they hated each other. He is listed as a quad changer, and how much validity you actually give that is your own decision. But right now I've got him in what I think to be his best mode. This is his beast mode, his gorilla mode. And the reason I like it is because, more than any other, this toy captures the proportions necessary to get a really good, convincing gorilla. He is big. He is beefy, he's got the huge hands, he's got the huge feet, the huge shins. And look at that face, look at that angry, angry face. This is an Optimus Prime that is going to kick your tailgate into the next 4 million years. Yeah. And of course he got this way from taking on Optimus Prime's spark in Optimal Situation. And so he ended up as Truck and Monkey, for those of you Beast Wars haters. Now he comes with a few accessories. He comes with 4 clear missiles, 2 of them store in the guns and 2 store on his sides. And he comes with this gun that, as you can see, accidentally pegs into his shoulder here. It's not actually meant to do that, but it can do that. So let's take that out for a sec. See, right now I've got his gorilla mode in an actual gorilla pose. If I put this down on a surface, his feet are flat and his hands are touching the ground. So it looks really cool. But you'll notice it's a gorilla with this giant gun backpack on. Well, if you stand him up a little bit more upright, you can point this forward over his shoulders. And if you want to save weight, you can pull this backwards, or you can leave it set. But now you've got it like that. And if I pull back on this, I'm going to shoot the camera. But basically, you can kind of see, it lights up some red, and it gives him some glowing yellow eyes. Now, the whole, if you pull it back too far, you shoot the missiles thing, is an unfortunate design flaw. And when they redecoed this guy's Primal Prime, they retooled it so that you press a button for the lights and pull it back to fire the missiles, so it no longer does that. On this guy, it's a little bit annoying, but it's not too big a thing, at least not in my opinion. So he is, of course, a Transmetal, which means he's got vacuum metallized plastic, and he's actually got it in 2 shades, a very dark, dark blue, and sort of a metallic burgundy, along with what is a little bit too vibrant of an orange, honestly. The Primal Prime version of him is, of course, cast in red and blue, but it looks fairly decent. An unintended benefit of this guy's gimmick is that he's got sort of a light pipe going on, which is really cool in my opinion. But he's more or less got the same articulation as in robot mode, so I can show it to you. His shoulders have got a full 360 range of motion, but in order to get any sort of in and out movement, you have to bend them at a different joint. And you have to dislocate them a little bit in order to bend them out. But as a result of it, you can actually, with this guy's elbows, you can emulate the gimmick from the original Optimus Prime toy and have him beat his chest. He's also got some wrist articulation. That's partly for transformation, but it's also good. Opening and closing fist. The thumb's a little bit poseable, but that's entirely for transformation. Waist swivel. Also for transformation, but still cool. He's got a double jointed knee. Part of it's for transformation, part of it's just for posing. Some in and out movement on the thigh, and it will do a 180. And it's got a little bit of ratcheting in the feet. So I think that's mostly for transformation. Speaking of, like I said, this guy's listed as a quad changer. So I think I'll start by transforming him into the jet mode, because it's the closer of the two. Now this sort of Cybertronian fighter jet is arguably not the most convincing thing ever. See, I've already gone ahead and done this arm. What you do is you just extend this all the way on both of these joints so that his arm's now way the hell out here. Take the fin, then you rotate it around. Then you take his hands and you twist them. Or no, sorry, you don't twist them at the wrist, you twist them at the hands. Yeah. Mea culpa. So you have them sort of sitting like this. Point them straight up. So it looks like he's doing Super Monkey. Only, of course, he's not. Then you take the back section here, and you hinge this out, you rotate it around, and it doesn't peg in, but it does sit there securely. You peg the legs together, fold the feet back a little, fold these rear wings out a little, which really only exist for this mode, collapse the legs as much as you physically can, and you have a mess of parts that is vaguely callable a jet. Yeah, it's got some kibble on it. But, to do a little bit of work for it, thrusters. They molded thrusters onto the bottom of the feet. That's cool. I really wish the toes folded up or something. But look at this guy. He's got a decent wingspan. And let's face it, some of the G1 jet transformers look only vaguely jet-esque. And he's got the cannons pointed right at you. He's got a cockpit that actually opens. Now, on the largest sized figures in the line, which were to be Optimal Optimus here, the Dragon Transmetal 2 Megatron, and the Transmetal 2 Tiger Hawk, they'd originally intended for there to be a little figure inside here, sort of a spark chamber representative. But they felt that that would make them look too much like mechas. So they left that out, except for, I think it was the Japanese release of Cryotech, the redeco of Transmetal 2 Megatron left them in. But as it is, I mean, it sort of looks like the monkey mode splayed really badly, if viewed from the bottom. From the top, it looks like a not-so-bad approximation of a jet. You can actually fiddle around with this, if you want. Like, for example, say I want to fold these arms back and twist these fins around. So now it looks sort of like he's got missile pods. Yeah, the wings end up in a really weird spot, but he's got these missile pods. And I suppose you could label the arms as them like that. They're not really supposed to do that, but oh well. Now from here, we're going to get him into his ground vehicle mode. And the reason I call it that is because I can't think of anything else to call it. Let's take the cockpit and hinge it back. Open up these wheels. The sort of shoulder wheel pauldron things. If they can. Okay. Pull. It helps if you pull in the right direction. Okay, so pull them up like that. Then you take this underside here. Pull out the wheels. Put his head back in. Now, depending on who you ask, there are a couple different ways to actually make this configuration work. Honestly, I'm not sure in the slightest what you're actually supposed to do. I got it off without any sort of instructions. So I basically have to make up as I go. how the hell this actually works. But I think you want to have the wheel something like that, just so it'll actually touch the ground. Fold the panels back in for his arms. Hold the fist to the side and sort of bring them around. Now, I know from the animation model that you actually want to have the wheel between those fists. So if I guess if I play with it just a little bit, can I get it between them? I can, sorta, I guess. As you may have guessed, I'm not terribly enthusiastic with this mode. And fold down these leg panels. This is the only mode that actually gives those leg panels any usage. So now it reveals some wheels. This is the compromise to make this guy a quad changer, which is this vehicle mode. 1 doesn't look terribly different from the jet. 2 is a little bit of a mess. If anybody can actually point out to me how the hell you're supposed to fold the wheel, I would really appreciate that. As it is, it's just... I think this is the weakest mode on the toy. It could look much better. The gimmick still works in this mode. You can still fire this. We can still, if you've got a wee little figure, you can put him up in the cockpit there. Maybe you've got like a little model of a spark that you could put in there to make it look like Prime is driving. We're going to put him in robot mode now. So we take the side panels and we fold them back up, the way they are in almost every mode. Put the feet back and pull out the legs. Extend them as far as they'll go. Turn the waist joint around. Though, with all the kibble around here, that can be difficult to do. Take the assembly here and twist it around back to the position it was on the gorilla mode. Take the back panel here with the gorilla head inside, fold it down, fold the wheel up against his back, and you can either split it in 2 or you can leave it like that. It's entirely your decision. Take these metallic blue wheels and you fold them around so that they're sticking right up. You rotate them basically 180 degrees. Now there's a couple of screw holes in there that may get you confused. You want these holes right here. If I can actually angle it to show you. Like that. So you want this big gap up like this. You actually, with the cockpit already in place for his chest, fold the entire cannon assembly back to fill in his chest, and using your fingernails, grab this tab and pull his head up into place. Now, I bring his arms out 2 notches, exactly 2 notches, just for flavor. Now here's the other gimmick with this guy. Is on the inside of the forearms here you can see this button. Oh, I'm pressing it the wrong way. That would help. And these blast into 3. There's a reason they're called blast shields. Now, in the episode Optimal situation, it made it look like they were hinged together. And I really would have preferred that to what we ultimately got, because it means they wouldn't explode into 3 pieces. But, oh well, what can you do? And once they're in 3 pieces, you essentially peg them onto the top of the shoulders. So then you turn these to face forward, then you actually open the hand and rotate the thumb, so it's now in the right spot. And make sure his head is still where it's supposed to be. I'm sorry I'm not showing this better, but it's extremely difficult to handle. I really need to get a camera with a tripod. It's just becoming more and more annoying with everything I do. Hopefully I can find one cheap at a store. There we go. And we have Optimal Optimus in his robot mode. Yeah, so it's got all the same articulation as the monkey mode, with one addition. His head can now turn 180 degrees. 360 degrees. This is where the gun comes in. Unfortunately, the only way for him to hold it is like this. And at first that looks fine. Yeah, see, he's just got sort of a Primus pistol. But if you look at the way this gun is molded, it looks like he's holding it by a magazine, which doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense. Besides, what does he need that for when he's got missile boobs? And as you can see, the gimmick works again in this mode. If I can... The difference being that now, you also get some glowing on his eyes. And they're actually green in person. I know my camera's kind of making them look yellow. They are green. And again, if you pull them too far, they go all the way back. Now, nominally, these shoulder panels, or these blast shields, go up on his shoulders. Sometimes in the Beast Wars animation model, they were on his shoulders. Sometimes they were on his forearms, like the other modes. And other times, they were missing entirely. I can't explain that. I also can't explain why on a toy that is supposed to be a completely robotic transmetal, you have what appears to be fur detailing. And maybe it's supposed to be wiring, but that's a lot of exposed wiring, and it's on a lot of joints. Now, my main detraction from the robot mode is that it looks way, way too much like the Beast mode. I mean, the arms, but you can change them around a bit. I like to point the wings back and angled up on them. Make that work. Torso's different, head's fine. The legs look too much alike. I mean, I cheated a little bit by having the monkey legs lowered back in a little bit like that. And these are actually on a double hinge to let you make them longer. But even that, I feel, is a bit of a cheat when you consider both of the previous Optimuses managed to make their legs longer for this mode, and also managed to change out the feet. You've got the same feet in this mode as you do in the monkey mode. I really wish they could have changed that up in some way, like these extended. And the way he's got such a long heel like that, it almost would make sense if these feet could spin 180 degrees, so that this was the front of it. Ah, it's a shame. Like I said, got the same articulation as the Beast mode, with the exception of adding a new head joint. Now, this is actually listed as the first superclass figure, which is now known as leader class. And it refers to, in several packaging, being 14 inches tall in robot mode. Now, it's certainly tall if you go to the top of the head, but it's only 14 inches if you go to the top of these shoulder pauldrons. If I have a ruler right here in my room, which I do for some reason, I can show you. See? Actually, that's only 12 inches, so they were lying on that. How tall is he to his head? That's incredibly hard to read for you guys, so it must be even harder for me. 24 centimeters. Yeah, I can understand where you guys might be really, really bad at centimeters if you're American, basically, because you guys don't use the metric system very much, and even though you know about it, you don't convert much. But you're looking at about, he's nearly 10 inches tall to the head, which is, it's decent, but it makes him seem like he should be way bigger, especially with the way he's shown with the animation model. He's twice as tall as Megatron. He's twice as tall as Rhinox. He's twice as tall as his transmetal body, which was already taller than his base body. And, I mean, when Megatron made a copy of him in Beast Machines, he was twice, if not 3 times as tall as that Optimus before he turned into, like, a Primus wannabe giant. For all things aside, he is a very stable figure. He's certainly very imposing. He doesn't look like a guy you'd want to mess with. I mean, why in God's name or Primus's name would you mess with somebody who's got cannons sticking out of their chest? I don't know. But, you know, he's a decent figure. He's got some problems, obviously. Problems with kibble and all the modes, some of the modes looking a bit alike. This gimmick could be better, the fact that these require part forming. So I've got to take a lot of points off on this guy. But he's a very stable, very endurant figure. He offers a lot of play options. And he's a decent size. And considering you can get him, you can still get him for like $30-35 on eBay. So he's fairly cheap. All things considered, I'd give him an 8. He's not by any means a stellar figure, but he is a good figure, and one that, you know, if you're a Beast Wars collector, I'd recommend you own him. And I would recommend that you stay as far away from the Titanium's version of him as possible. The only thing it did that this version couldn't was match the animation model of these retracting and this sliding up. And the rest of the ways is just god-awful, and this is... I mean, some people would tell you that this is a bad toy, but I think it's a fairly good toy. It's not a great one, but it's one that's worth owning. It's a lot of fun to play with. It's one of those... You don't collect this figure, but you have it to play with. It's really fun. And, yeah, that's it for this review, guys. I'll see you around.